Hey friend, welcome back to the Care Collective podcast. I'm really glad that you're here today. If you're new here, this podcast is a space for caregivers and for the people who love them. Each week we share stories, conversations, and resources designed to help caregivers feel a little more seen, supported, and less alone. Because caregiving can be one of the most meaningful roles someone takes on, but it can also be one of the most overwhelming. My hope with this podcast is to bring honest conversations into the open, the emotional side of caregiving, the practical side, and the wisdom that comes from people who have walked through these experiences themselves. Today's episode is a really special one because we're exploring caregiving from a perspective we haven't talked about as much yet. Over the past few episodes, we've heard from family caregivers about what it's like to support the people they love. But today we're also hearing from someone who has spent years supporting both older adults and families caring for them. Today I'm sitting down with Sara. She has become a great friend of mine, and she is a doctor of physical therapy, fall prevention, and a wellness coach for seniors, as well as the host of her own podcast. Sara has worked in home health and hospice and helped older adults regain their strength, stay safe in their homes, and navigate some of the most vulnerable seasons of life. In this conversation, we talk about how the things families often don't see when caring from a distance, how to recognize signs that an older loved one might need more support, and why connection and conversation can sometimes be just as powerful as the physical care itself. We also talk about dementia, preserving stories and memories from our loved ones while we still can, ways caregivers can care for their own well-being, and why empathy, something that so many caregivers carry deeply, is actually one of their greatest strengths. This episode is full of practical advice, but it's also a really beautiful reminder that caregiving isn't just about managing tasks, it's about presence and it's about relationships, and it's ultimately about honoring the humanity and the stories of the people we care for. So whether you're a family caregiver, a professional caregiver, or someone who just wants to better support the older adults in your life, I hope this conversation encourages you. So let's jump in. So thank you for being willing to come and talk with me today, because I think the initial conversation I had with you was really interesting because I've spent a lot of time the past few episodes really talking to people that are family caregivers and getting their perspective. And so it's been fun to kind of talk with you and get the flip side of a professional that has worked supporting, the caregivers and the people that you've taken care of as well. So anyways, it was really good to get kind of your perspective on all that. So just to kind of start, can you kind of just briefly introduce yourself, your background, and I'd love to hear kind of the beginning of why you got started kind of in elder care and taking care of people.
Yeah, so I went to school to become a doctor of physical therapy. So that's my formal background and training. I got into that just because I mean, we all have our personal injury stories, most of us PTs, but
Right.
also I was a caregiver for my grandmother before she passed when she found out she had cancer. And that was really I was like, I need to do this. I need to learn how to help her beyond what I was capable of helping her with at the time, because that was really hard,
Right.
kind of seeing somebody in so much pain and not really knowing what to do besides giving that companionship,
Yeah.
which I always, at least with older people, that's just kind of been something that comes naturally to me. For high school, we had to volunteer, and the place I volunteered for was this assisted living facility, and I would just go to people's rooms and just talk to them. It was really fun and sweet. So I think that naturally led me down the path to where after I graduated PT school, I found a job in home health and hospice, which is like a really unique space in physical therapy. When people think physical therapy, a lot of times I think like going to a clinic, like getting on, I don't know, like doing these like crazy exercises. But home health, physical therapy, and hospice looks a lot different. It's a lot more functional. Normally we'd see people, it's usually after some big incident has happened that we see people in that capacity. So if they had a huge fall, if they're in the hospital for a long time and got really weak, we saw a lot of people post COVID, and it's just a lot about like how we can get that person to be able to leave the home safely in case of an emergency, how to be able to use the bathroom by themselves, or how to teach the caregivers how to help them use the bathroom, how to adapt their house to make it safe, and just literally make whatever goal was pertinent to them, even if it's just like going out into their garden, getting to church, anything like that was a really big one. Just helping them get the strength and the confidence to be able to do that. So that I really loved. And then you get to go to people's homes and really, like, so many of these people, a lot of them lived alone, which was really hard, or had family who lived really far away. Some people were more fortunate and were living with family members, which was really nice. So yeah, lots of different kinds of people. But Yeah, but you see all these people and they have all their fun little stories, and a lot of them think these stories, like, mean nothing, or they're stories that their family have never even heard before, and it was
Right.
just so fun for me to hear these stories. So, yeah, like, that was probably my favorite part of it, but it's also really
Yeah.
fun to see a person get back to where they were.
Right.
Unless it was, like, obviously working in hospice, then, like, the goal was just to make them as comfortable as possible and or
Right.
teach family how to, like, move them as they're getting weaker. So, that was what I was doing for a little bit there, and now I've transitioned to a different role where I started my own business as a fall prevention and wellness coach for seniors. So, it's not
Mm.
physical therapy right now, but I saw a big gap in that really big things were happening to people that could have been prevented in the first place
Right.
if their loved ones or themselves had seen the signs. And it would have saved everybody so much time and money
Mm.
had they done the things to prevent that. So I saw
Mm.
that gap, and that's what I'm doing right now. It is like premium coaching right now, but I do hope to like scale that down in the future as I grow. So
Yeah.
that's been fun. And then I started my podcast, Seniors or Stories for Supper, where I sit down and interview seniors, just like fun things about their life. And it's been really fun. And I'm getting more into that right now. So I got to interview
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's all of it. I can see at the core of it just how much you've really dove in to this industry because I know it's not necessarily a popular industry for some people to work in and to have a career in, but I can really see the heart that you put into it and how much you just care for people. And I think that's really cool to see. So kind of going back a little bit to your, experience working in the home. I know we talked a little bit about kind of the disconnect that you were seeing of, the people that lived far away or, maybe they lived close by, but they weren't as aware of things that were going on. Can
Mhm.
you talk about if there's like a particular moment or instance where it kind of connected for you and what you kind of noticed going on in those scenarios?
Yeah. So just to make sure I understand the question,
Yeah.
like when I realized that people weren't getting the support they needed because people lived further away, or are you
Yeah,
getting that?
like just kind of the what you wish that more people understood of any kind of distance caregiving. It could be short distance, it could be long
Yeah.
distance, but maybe they're just not physically as present and they're not as aware. What kind of things did you notice that you wish more people would be aware of to either maybe they need to call and ask mom every day, like,
Yeah,
hey,
totally.
what's going on here? Or maybe they need to stop by physically and kind of look for some of these signs. Because I know you talked about that kind of disconnect. So, what are some more things that
Yeah.
you noticed and that you saw that you wish more people would be aware of in these situations to kind of help their elderly loved ones, just as it pertains to, it seems like a lot of your expertise is that physical safety, right? And
Mhm.
kind of signs to
Totally.
watch for.
Yeah, that's a great question. You're definitely really good at asking questions.
Thanks.
Oh, I would say the first thing, really big one, is just to make sure you obviously they're your loved one, you love them, but there's
Right.
always a very unique relationship between like mother and daughter or any
Mhm.
of that. Like it's very different from their relationship with me as a professional or
Mm.
provider. They're gonna tell me a lot of things that they're not telling you.
Right.
Just because that's how it goes. Like my mom's not gonna listen to me about certain things, but if there's like a doctor telling her something, she might listen to it in
Yeah.
a different way. So I would say the first step is definitely establishing trust and like upfront like check-ins and communication.
Hmm.
Obviously, like they're not gonna like if you are literally just calling them to be like, "Mom, I just wanted to see if you're okay."
Yeah.
Like, I'm just checking in for the day, making sure you didn't fall.
Right.
Nobody likes that. They wanna make sure, like, you're calling them because you actually want to. And obviously, I mean, we're so busy, especially, like, the younger generation, like, we have multiple jobs, a lot of us. That's just how what life is right now. And so once a day is definitely ideal, but for some people, like, that's even still too much, especially if you don't have as close of a relationship.
Right.
So if you can, like, even, like, every week, like, physically check in and start with asking questions about, like, how they are or, like, what they did or share a story about your life that, like,
Mm.
I don't know, what your kids have been up to, how their soccer game went, or, like, how the grand dog is.
Right. Right.
So that's, like, huge because they don't wanna feel like a burden, and a lot of times if you're just saying, "I just wanna make sure you're okay," it's just not like that two-way communication, but just
Right.
share stories. So if you can, like, come up with a certain time of day or week that you know you're gonna, like, reach out to them, that's
Hmm.
huge. My mom isn't in that age group yet, but I know every Sunday we like play Jeopardy over Alexa on FaceTime, and like that is the time we every Sunday that we like purposely connect. So that's one thing.
Right.
Another thing, and then there are also older people who are like fiercely independent and will still get annoyed if you're checking in on them like that.
Of course.
But now there's apps which are really cool that like they're basically like a third person in it. So that you
Mm,
literally it just sends out a text every day. They reply yes or no, and then you and your family just get a message saying like they're alive.
mm,
They're good. And that will just establish like peace of mind for both you and for them.
right.
One that I have like a code for like 20% off the first month is called Check and Be.
Mm,
This guy, the owner started it because his dad, as he said, was I think it was his father-in-law, one of the two, like
yeah.
fiercely independent, got super annoyed if people are checking in on him, like when he was like camping or something or anything. But that app just and there's different apps too if you don't want to use that one,
Right.
but
Right.
they have that it's this like this yeah, this check-in and it makes a huge difference to
Yeah.
feel better.
Yeah, no,
I
there's a guy I'm gonna interview next week, but that maybe would be good for you to know about as well. But he's got a technology, although he's still pre-launch, and we'll have to see with the tariffs. He was like, I don't know what's gonna happen with,
yeah.
getting it launched and everything. So it might delay it or it might be up, who knows. But anyways, I
Right.
was talking to him and he's basically making a company. I'll have to find it because I think it's called Memory Board. I think that's the name of
Mhm.
it. But it's like the digital picture frames that have the pictures coming through. It's basically like that, but you could send a physical reminder to your loved one. So it could literally be anything from like coming to pick you up for a doctor's appointment to like just like big text on a screen because he's like, we've heard a lot of people don't want to use their phone, they don't want to use
Mhm.
simple things like that, but they just need to know reminders, take your
Cool.
medication or whatever. And the loved one can manage it from their phone. So I think things like that. I don't know that it has a communication for that person to respond and send something back to
Mhm.
you, but I
Mhm.
still think, to your point, definitely finding more adaptive ways to work in checking on people, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
totally.
something you still have to know. So I think just doing your research and knowing ways to check up on people, even if it's not conventional, it's not the way you want to, but
Yeah,
finding other ways to work around it with whatever is best for your loved one, right? Because there's lots of tools
totally.
and things you can
Yeah.
experiment with out there.
Yeah, and it's knowing if they like to not be bothered or if they really
Right.
want that communication. So, yeah, definitely ways, but that sounds like an incredible thing, whatever that guy is building is gonna
Yeah,
be
I'll have to
in
send it your way.
super cool.
Anyways, I think you had a third point of what you were gonna say as far
Yeah,
as
I mean, I'm sure I have multiple, but another one is just also knowing, like, what community resources are available,
right.
which I'm sure a lot of people are aware of, but some big ones definitely. Home health services are free for most people with Medicare, which is
Mhm.
really awesome. The only like barrier to entry is that the person has to be established as homebound, which can be
Right.
tricky. That means they can go to the grocery store, they can go to church, do like go get their hair cut. They can't
Okay.
like if they're going out to dinner or going out of town, they're not technically homebound, so they can't really have those services that
Mm,
Medicare does like cover 100% for. But if they are homebound and like if they go to church but it's like really taxing or if it's just like super hard to leave the house, it takes a lot of energy, they can be on home health, which is a really awesome resource. They just have
mm,
to ask their doctor for a prescription to or a referral to home health. And you
right.
can literally just go in and just say with them, obviously, like, oh, like mom is getting kind of weak. And it can just be general weakness or if she's looking wobbly on her feet.
Mm,
Be like, she looks like she's gonna fall. Could we look into home health? And they can
right.
give you a referral. And yeah, most of the time it is 100% covered, which is an incredible
Right.
resource. I know there are changes in Medicare coming up. I don't know how that's gonna affect that, but I'm
Yeah.
really hoping that's gonna stick around because it's an incredible resource.
Right. And one question I have for you on that point then too, and if you don't know the answer to this, totally good,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you have some kind of insight on this. But I hear from a lot of caregivers that they feel very overwhelmed with trying to advocate for themselves in the medical system. So getting access to home health, have you seen with a lot of people that it's pretty easy to communicate that and get that resource set up? Or is there any other kind of barriers to kind of keep in mind when you're talking to your doctor about it? And do you have recommendations for how to kind of communicate that need and get that across?
Yeah, definitely. So on the home health side, obviously, I've worked with people who already had got that
Right, that are
referral.
after the fact, yeah.
Yeah, but because a lot of doctors really honestly, like, they don't really know about home health, that's
Yeah.
also a barrier, and they'll say a lot of them will also say, like, "Home health will give you somebody to help you with showers." No, that's not the
Mhm.
deal. They can help somebody short term with showers to help show like a more adaptive way, or they can get
Right.
like an occupational therapist or physical therapist on board so they can be more independent. But that
Right.
help with what's called a home health aide. A lot of
Mhm.
doctors think that that person's in there permanently, and then it's us on home health who have to be like, sorry, like that's
Mhm.
Medicare doesn't cover that long term, unfortunately.
Right.
So just knowing that in advance, but also the people on the home health team are like nurses, occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, and social work, which is also a really good resource
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Especially like maybe if you don't live close to your parent or if you know of like a neighbor who needs more help, the social worker can help to find those resources. So in terms of advocating when you're going to see the doctor or the primary care provider, definitely just being upfront and just being like, it's very hard for so and so to leave the house. I think they need more help in preventing falls and being more independent or just like trying to get stronger so that they can leave the house or be in their house more safely. Obviously, like that
Right.
is the goal, or to prevent hospitalization.
Right.
Just say that you heard about home health, you heard it's a good resource, and yeah, if they're normally they only need nursing if they have like a wound that's really hard to heal.
Right.
But in terms of like strength, like you can ask for like a PT referral if they're having like a hard time getting on and off the toilet, in and out of bed, they're looking wobbly on their feet, or if they're just like short of breath and need to work on their endurance or walking.
Right.
And then obviously like OT, occupational therapy. Oh, they're having a harder time getting their shirts on. Toileting, like hygiene has been an issue for them. They keep getting UTIs. That's a huge one that OT
Right.
can help with. So yeah, just being upfront and just saying like you heard that's an option. And then also saying like you would consider them homebound is a huge part too. So
Right, right. And I get that this is a big reason why insurance wants to cover it, right? Is because you mentioned hospitalizations, like they want to prevent that
yeah,
because that's not good for anyone, right?
no,
To get to that point. And so I think that's where, if the resources is there, you need to utilize them. Like we
yeah,
we prefer for everyone to stay at home and age how they want to, right?
yeah,
And
totally.
have the care that they need. I think that's kind of the best possible
Hmm.
scenario for everyone. So I think it's just a matter of learning the right questions to ask and
Yeah,
pushing forward. It may take a lot of work, but it sounds like
yeah,
once you get through it, then that's when you're paired up with people that can really help you and
yeah.
make the
It's
biggest impact for you.
It's huge, and it's a really good resource, and
Hmm.
there's home health agencies all over the place that
Yeah.
just want more patients.
Yeah.
So, I'm also on that, if they're even if they're living in assisted living facilities, like, home
Right.
health still goes to them, like, they can live in facilities, and that sometimes the facilities have their own outpatient
Mhm.
things, but home health can be a really good option, just, like, and we go into their room, and it's nice, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very good. And I kind of want to shift a little bit to more of your experiences while kind of talking to people. And I think it was, you said in our last conversation something along the lines of like, you feel like more of the healing came from the conversations you had with people than the actual physical work you were doing with
Totally.
them. Could you kind of elaborate that a little bit more and kind of talk about
Yeah, yeah,
the socializing
definitely.
part of it?
Yeah, so the socialization is huge. I mean, I was traveling all over, like, the county where I live, and a lot of it spans across, like, really rural places as well as in town. Even the people who lived in town, these are people, like, they might have not spoken to anybody the whole week.
Right.
And I realized that a lot of them, like, so much, not that I'm trying to word this right, like, pain is real,
Mhm.
weakness is real, but we can, like, really help to increase it. So much of it is literally that the mind-body connection. And so if, like, you're sad, lonely, haven't talked to anybody, your brain just has a really like, a much harder time, like, translating things to the body, basically. So, like, I realized that a lot of the people I was working with, they really just needed that human connection. We would talk about anything. It was really fun, like, they would tell me these crazy stories. But that was, like, really the key to them feeling better, and that is where one limitation of home health is a limitation, is that, I mean, as with almost all healthcare, it's very focused on productivity, efficiency, get in, get out. So that's one reason why I left. Now, it is good, but now I kind of work alongside of what traditional PT does so that I can do all the things to help somebody get stronger and more confident, but also like I have the time and space and freedom to like actually talk about and do what they want to do that is pertinent to their life, because that is what helps somebody actually thrive. So you can be stronger, but you might not be thriving. And so that connection piece was just huge. And that's like part of what I love doing, what I'm doing now, is that I do have that freedom. We can literally do whatever they need to thrive. And it's just like so nice. And I can combine that with all like the knowledge I have from my education, and it's really nice. And I really do think that is the missing piece to so much healing for older adults. It's literally just that connection. Because it is sad. A lot of times they do get forgotten about. But yeah, especially in our culture here, I feel like in cultures in other countries, like they value their elders as like
Mm,
having wisdom. We don't really do that here. So
right,
yeah.
right. No, I love all of that because I think that's what I've seen, and that's why even when I go about my day to day life, like there was saw this older gentleman that's always walking around the neighborhood and always wants to stop and talk, and
Yeah.
I feel like now I have a soft spot that even if I say this in other episodes, I feel like, but even if you're just in the line at the grocery store and like somebody's trying to talk to you, like you never know, especially in those rural areas you're talking about, like you could be the only person that they get to talk to that day.
Totally.
And so I think just slowing down and stopping and having those conversations, that it gets really hard when you're in that environment that's like pushing, especially if you're from more of a corporate kind of organization versus maybe more of a
Mhm.
family run. I don't know what kind of places you worked for, but I've definitely seen that kind of conversation as well, that some of these nursing homes getting bought out by private equity groups, that they're not going to be as good of a facility maybe as one that's more locally ran, and things of that nature.
Totally. Totally. And, like, that's, like the catch-22. It's like the
Right,
smaller ones aren't making as much money. And, yeah, so, like, totally push and pull. But I have like, the
right.
more, like, smaller ran ones are almost always better.
Right. And so that was going to be my question for you, just kind of what advice you would give to somebody that, if they're working in those kind of organizations right now, what
Mm,
kind of helped you to take the time that you needed to feel good about what you're doing, but you're still kind of dealing with the paperwork or the headache that you kind of have to go through on the flip side? Like, what kind of motivated you to still stay in those times?
yeah. So, I mean, the tricky part is I did leave
You did
because it was
eventually, yes.
yeah, it was only because, like, the corporation was starting to get more corporate and having those, like, outside pressures, which
Right.
really sucked because, like, ethically and morally, I was just like, "This is what the people need."
Right.
Um, yeah, but anyways, while I was in it, though, it's really hard to hold up, like, those productivity standards and then, like, your morals and your, like, education, like, what they, like, technically need,
Right.
especially when you're, like, documenting. That's always hard to justify what you're doing, but really and when I would say, like, especially when it comes to talking to the person, I always justified it and knew I was doing right. It's like,
Mm,
do no harm, but also, like, I wanna do more than do no harm. I wanna actually do
right.
good.
Do
Like, I
better.
always justify it in that, like, I know and they know, like, this is actually what they need. This is a human thing to do. So, yeah, was I not as productive as I could have been? Totally. But also, like, I had the best patient satisfaction scores. My patients, if they came back, which obviously sucks if they came back because that means they, like, went to the hospital or something, like, they
Right.
requested me again. Not, like, in a ego way that I'm saying that. It's just, like, I
Right.
gave them
You
that
built that
time.
relationship. You
Yeah,
more heart
totally, and
there.
that makes all the difference. I mean, hopefully I don't know, hopefully nobody's listening to will listen to this from my organization, but I had also, like, known patients who would get another therapist or somebody else who was, like, more efficient, more on the more da 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 da,
Mhm.
and they were making a lot more money than I was because they were, like,
Mm,
hustling to see patients, but
right.
those patients were like, "Yeah," when I saw them again, they're like, "That, like, almost did nothing for me," and I was like, "Oh, I'm
Mm,
sorry." Yeah, so it's definitely a push and pull between I mean, most of the like, almost 100% of the time, it is, like, financial incentive, which sucks.
right.
So it's just like
Right.
being true to yourself and holding that for yourself. Because honestly, like, you're gonna go to bed at the end of the day and you're gonna know. Yeah. So I think definitely it is tricky. But yeah. I mean, there's places you can volunteer and talk to people too if like
Oh,
you're
of
really starting
course.
to get like hard on yourself. So yeah. That's so tricky, and I wish there were like a easier solution. It's
Right,
hard. But yeah, that's
right,
totally why I started my own thing though. And yes, it
mhm,
comes at a little bit of a premium cost, but I do hope like as I grow, I can actually scale that to like lower all of that.
right,
But yeah, like that part, the communication or the connection part's so important.
right.
Yeah.
No, and I've definitely heard that over and over from many people, and I think
Mhm.
that's the main thing that I want to emphasize to people as well is I think that your caring heart, it's not a bad thing, right? Like that's what makes you good at your job, and stopping to take
Mhm.
care of people, how much you care, all of that is what makes you successful in what you're going to do. Depending on how you define success, you brought up the point that maybe you're not going to get paid as much productivity wise, but if you truly do value relationships with people and you truly do value that time you're spending with them, you're going to find great success. And so caring and having an empathetic heart and being there for people, that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, totally. I For so long, I used to think my empathy was a weakness. Like
Mm,
for so long, it was really hard to carry that with me.
yeah.
But once you start seeing it as a strength, like it really is a strength. You make like people don't remember, there's like a quote, people don't remember what you did, they remember how you made them feel.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, like that is like true healing.
Hmm.
So yeah, empathy, I think if you are a caregiver, and I'm sure like most of the people listening to your podcast are like empaths. Yeah, it can definitely be hard at times. I mean, that's what makes you you and an incredible caregiver too. But yeah, that's also like I also with the people clients I work for, and if I'm going through like their adult child too, like I work with them to make sure that they have like at least like a daily practice of like super easy things just to make sure they're taking care of themselves and their energy, and it does make a huge difference too.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's kind of where I wanted to go next is hearing I love asking everyone like what is your favorite form of self-care and kind of your experience around having compassion for yourself and putting protective things in place to make sure you don't burn out.
Mhm.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts on like what is your thing that you do kind of to take care of yourself
Yeah.
and set those boundaries?
So I have like when I talk to like caregivers in specific, and I recently started like a second brand just to kind of keep myself
Yeah,
accountable too for people who are like on the edge of burnout. It's not
I love that.
necessarily for caregivers. It's a little brash. So if anybody is into any of that,
Yeah.
you can check that out. But anyways, going back to like there's like 5 things I think are so important that are super
Mm.
easy to implement in your day that like I do and that like I
Mhm.
teach people to do. I can quickly go through the five
Yeah, that
things.
would be great. I would love that.
Okay, so the first thing, which I feel like nobody really talks about,
Mhm.
is the first thing you do in the morning. And like I don't know if you go online, like people have these huge, giant morning routines,
Mhm.
and they start out with like a cold plunge and stuff like that. But that's not really accessible to a lot of people. And
Right.
personally, I hate like I'm not going to jump in a cold shower. I hate that. But what cured, yeah, if people like that, they like it. My
Yeah,
husband
no,
likes
I
that.
see that so much, especially if you get onto LinkedIn at all. That's all that people
Oh
want to
my, yeah,
do.
it's just like total like do this, do this. It's just like,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little that energy. I just need calm energy.
I know. I'm like, I don't need that hustle
Yeah,
culture.
I was like,
That's not
that's a
my
little
thing.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you there.
But anyway, something that like I myself have only been like a caregiver in my personal life for like a short amount of time, like maybe a
Right.
month and a half. And then obviously like professionally, but in times of life when I've been like on the edge of burnout just because I did go to a lot of school, obviously that's hard. What cured my morning anxiety or my nighttime anxiety about the next
Mhm.
day is that like the first thing I do in the day is do something that literally brings you joy. Like
Mm.
just think of a list, like think of something that is accessible that you can do in your morning that like is something that makes you actually happy. And even if
Yeah.
you only have like 5 minutes, start your day with that. Like you don't need to brush your teeth first. You don't need to, I don't know, go do
Make the
like your
bed, whatever.
push-ups or yeah, or make the bed exactly. And so like what I literally do, and I set a timer. I try to get at least 25 minutes in if I can't, like, I'll just do like 5 minutes, is I just read a book. It's just so nice. I mean, the book I'm reading right now is like kind of apocalyptic. It's
Yeah.
kind of like zombies. I don't know. It's called Severance. It's kind of,
Not the most
it's a
relaxing
fun
book,
one.
but the
Yeah,
practice
yeah.
of reading is
But it's
real.
a good read. It's fun. It's got a cute cover. But it just like it's something that brings me peace. And so
Right.
I go to bed at night knowing like, oh, when I wake up, like I get to read my book and like
Yeah.
have my drink coffee. So I have my little coffee and I like put it on my chest because like I'm in bed reading
Right.
it. But anyway, so number one, definitely like start your day with something you actually enjoy. Not what
Mm.
other people think you should start your day with, but even if it's just 5 minutes, or even well, if you only have time for 1 minute, do something you actually enjoy.
Mhm.
That's number one. It's like five things. So number two, I'll go a little faster. I'm
Oh, you're
sorry.
good.
The second thing is try, and this is what I like in my new thing I'm working on, and I do this with older adults too, but it's really try to find a movement practice that
Mm.
matches the energy that you want to have.
Mm.
So it goes back, you just need to pause and listen to your body and figure out like what you need in the moment.
Yeah.
For me, a lot of the time it's just like I need to relax. Like I had this like really stressful
Mm.
thing happen to me. What am I gonna do? You can like look up a 5 minute relaxation yoga video on YouTube.
Right.
And that puts you in the state so that you can go about your day relaxed.
Mm.
Or like if you need like confidence, which I
Yeah.
mean, that's something I've struggled with for a while. Like a really good movement practice to do is just like, I don't know, put on your a song that like hypes you up and go out and dance,
Right.
I don't know, for like 5 minutes while you're doing your laundry or something. Um, or if you just need to be grounded and reset, if you got like this weird, like kind of funky energy, go for a
Yeah.
5 minute walk. So there's specific movements and types of movement you can do to match like
Mm.
what you need. Or like let's say, I don't know if you've been like a little negative and a little grumpy, like you need to do something that's like kind of goofy and fun. So like, I don't know, go
Right.
like play ping pong or I don't know, chase with your kid and tag with your kid, like get in that fun mood and just
Right.
like find an activity to do that and it'll be like incredible reset. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
number
that's
two. The third thing I really teach people to do is before like any situation that you know is maybe going to trigger something in you. So like for a lot of caregivers, it might be, oh my gosh, I have to go help mom get in the shower, and she might be having like a bad day, especially people with like dementia. That's definitely
right.
a challenge. That is emotionally taxing. Just pause for a second before you go to do that activity. Just take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it, and then out through your mouth, and just whatever you believe in, even if you don't believe in like a higher being or anything. So if you believe in God, just say God. If you believe in the universe, say universe. If you don't believe in any of those things, just ask for like your higher self and just say, please, like God, universe, higher self, please help me go into this moment with my best energy and help keep me calm and just work through light or goodness or whatever like term you want to
Yeah.
use. And that you'll be amazed like how much that'll help you keep calm, regulated, and then the person you're helping or whatever you're doing, they're going to notice it, or whatever you're doing is going to be easier too. And it is taking that moment to like reset and do that. And then the fourth thing I have people do is at night, do something to calm you so that you can go to bed calm.
Mm.
For some people it might be reading. For me, reading like kind of like gets me going, so I don't read at
Yeah.
night. But like reading something, maybe like put on 5 minutes of your favorite calming podcast, like it might be your podcast, just to feel seen and heard. For me, the thing that I have a few different calming practices, but the one I do almost every night if I can is just take a quick shower. Like I just put my hair up and we'll just like rinse off, and that is so like grounding and regulating for me,
Mm-hmm.
especially after a long day, because I mean it's physically cleansing, but it's like
Right.
also like you can just cleanse off the energy of the day. So definitely choose something that you know is calming for you and do
Mm.
that. And then before you close your eyes at night, so this is like the fifth thing, just literally name three things that you're grateful for. And
Mm.
that's like gonna change your energy and just like make you so much calmer. It'll do so many good things because you'll help people in better ways. Then you won't get sick as much. You're not going to burn out as hard and as fast. And so I kind of turn that into a meditative practice. I have like I have it right here. I have this little rock, and I just like hold this rock, and I put on meditation music. And for me, I pray at night, so like I just hold this rock, and then I'll end with like 3 things I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
But for people who don't do that, just like turn on meditation music or just be in silence. And like for me, I have this as a little reminder to do that. You don't necessarily have that, but I like the way this feels in my hand. And then I just think of 3 things I'm like truly grateful for in that moment. And those 5 things like make a huge difference in your
Mm.
life, and you actually feel good in your body, and you can handle the
Right.
bigger blow-ups in life for sure. Yeah.
Right. No, I love all those things. I think it's a good reminder too to focus on, things that are good for you, things that ground you and help you, because I think there is a lot of, things out there of, oh, you have to do this for your self-care. Or somebody I was talking to yesterday, she was like, everyone wants to talk about like, go get your nails done, go get your hair done. She's like, that doesn't really help me. That feels fake. Like that's not me.
Yeah,
So
totally. And a
good
lot of
for
people, when they
you.
say self-care, that's what they think, or like their
Right.
20-step skincare routine. I'm like,
Right.
hate doing my skincare. I literally have my lo nighttime lotion like in my bed frame, so I can just put it on in
Right.
bed.
Like, if anything, that's why I've been wearing less makeup, because that's not work for me
Yeah.
to take it off. Simplify everything, especially I think
Mhm,
for caregivers when there's so much going on. That's what I like about your 5 things to focus on, is that it's very much focused on like what can you do, what can you fit in to kind of,
mhm,
even if it's 1 minute to ground yourself in the morning, and just maybe your
totally.
thing is just you go outside and you look at the sunshine, because
Yes.
maybe that's really grounding for you. It doesn't have to
Wow.
be I need to
Yeah.
plan a trip every 2 weeks to get a breakaway.
Which would be nice too, but
Which would
yeah.
be nice too. But I think just focusing on the little things you can do day to day to kind of create your space and set your
Mhm.
boundaries so that you can show up as your best possible self for other people.
Totally. And like sometimes when you're first getting into the practice of that, literally like have a little notebook where you write
Mm,
down things where like throughout your day where you notice like, oh, like I actually like to do that. That feels really
right,
good. So that in the times where you have like this heightened energy, because your brain is just not going to think like that. It's just going to be like
right.
react, react, react. In the times where you have a heightened energy, you can pull out your notebook and be like,
Mhm,
okay, I love just sitting down with my dog and just like petting him. It's very
mhm.
calming. So like, let's go do that for a second.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
that has been helpful for me. And then it becomes like super automatic.
Mhm. No, I
Yeah.
love that. And one last thing I was kind of wanting to discuss, like one major topic, because you've mentioned a lot of some points about dementia and some of the challenges that are there. So I would love to hear, especially as it pertains to kind of these conversations or, getting stories from people that you've been talking to. What kind of advice do you have for people kind of managing their relationships with people, with their loved ones with dementia, and kind of, still building that relationship, still having normal conversations with them? Because I think some people feel a little intimidated of, how do I ask these questions? I don't want to make them feel bad if they can't remember things, like
Yeah.
kind of getting around that. So what have you kind of seen in your experience to still focus on the person and still have relationship
Yes.
despite any other challenge they have going on?
Yeah. That one is huge. It is. I am very thankful that the older people in my family, I mean, a lot of them have passed, but I am very grateful and fortunate and privileged that they didn't have
Mhm.
dementia. So I haven't personally dealt with that with somebody that I loved, which I am
Mhm.
grateful for. But yeah, I have worked with so many people with Alzheimer's or dementia. So that's an incredible people out there on Instagram educating about this. So like
Yes.
definitely follow them. They have incredible tips. But the big things I have seen that are really good and just like seeing them still as a person, one is definitely meet them where they're at.
Mm.
I guess like me as a physical therapist, if we're just thinking like physically, like trying to get them strong, I have this good example of my friend who is now doing home health too. She was in a memory care, and her patient had some pretty significant dementia. It was really sad. Like she thought she was stuck in an elevator, which is like that would just be like really.
Be
I don't know. I
scary.
can't even imagine like that would be like what I was thinking about all day.
Right.
But anyways, my friend, like she knew this person was a fall risk and really needed to get stronger. So my friend met her where she was at, and they literally did exercises like squatting up, squatting down, reaching this, like to get out of the elevator. I think
Mm.
she ended up helping her get out of the elevator.
Yeah.
So yeah, just meet them where they are at in their head is
Right.
huge. Even yeah, especially if you're trying to get them to move. Like, or I had what's another example? Yeah, I had this patient who like he saw puppies everywhere. Very
Mm,
opposite example, but it was really cute. And I'd be like, okay, let's go over to this puppy, or like let's go down
mm,
and get this puppy. It was really cute.
yeah.
But that actually helped him because like otherwise just saying like let's go up, let's go for a walk, let's do this, like that's gonna be harder if he's
Right.
seeing puppies everywhere.
Right.
So and for that physical aspect, that's good. And then as far as like I think what we talked about like getting stories and memories and if they can't remember something,
Right.
that's definitely a challenge. But something I really advocate for people to do um, and is like another aspect of what I'm doing now too is like I'll come to people's houses and actually record, like be very intentional about stories I'm recording, and then I'll like make a little book and a movie about all that so that their loved ones have a keepsake memory.
Yeah.
Because like we celebrate people's weddings and their new babies, but we don't really celebrate older people like that. And I think
Yeah.
that is totally like a really needed thing. Sorry, that's
Right.
going off the point,
Oh, you're
but
good. That
going
answers the question too.
going back to the point of if they're getting frustrated because they don't remember a story,
Yeah.
I really advocate that even if they don't remember, just like take out your phone, obviously with their permission, camera, and record you just talking to them because that's going to be something that you can still look back to one day when
Mm,
they're gone and be
yeah.
very thankful that you have. I did not have that with my grandmothers who passed, and I desperately wish I did, where I
Mm,
intentionally had the camera and asking them questions because
yeah.
now like my one grandmother, she like spoke 3 different languages, she was an immigrant,
Yeah.
like her voice is lost like forever. It's only in
Mm,
my head, and that absolutely sucks. Like I
mm,
thought I had a voicemail from her, and I remember years after she passed, I was like, I'm finally ready to listen to this voicemail. I want to hear her voice
mm.
again. And it was just a butt dial. And I like literally I had nothing. And a lot of people at
Yeah.
least they have like a voicemail, but I have
Yeah.
nothing. So I just know it'll be so much solace for you that
Yeah.
even if they're not speaking coherently or you ask them a question they can't remember, even just like sitting there and recording something with them in
Mm,
their voice, or if they're at the point where they can't really talk either, just
right.
like being present with them,
Mm,
you are going to be so thankful you did that. And
mm.
like we almost all of us have a smartphone, so it's pretty easy to do. You just have to be intentional about it.
Right. Right. No, I think that's the biggest thing I think too is taking advantage of the moments where you do have them talking and where it is conversational because obviously
Yeah, totally.
things fluctuate, things change. Like today they might not want to say a word, and then tomorrow maybe they want to tell you everything about everything that happened in their life, you
Yeah,
know. So I think part of it is just taking advantage of the moment and being ready to kind of be there and be present, which I think can only
totally.
happen from what we talked about earlier, right? When you're taking care of yourself and you can show
Yeah.
up as your best self. Not to say that you don't deserve to also have a day every now and then that you're kind
Yeah,
of, you know,
totally.
it's a bad
Yeah.
day. You're allowed to have bad days, but I think
Yeah.
just focusing on the good and keeping these memories so that
Yeah.
you take that with you out of the
Yeah.
experience.
And definitely like, yeah, don't wait until it's too late. Like I'm still like with my grandfather right now. He's like full Chinese, so he's not
Mm,
sentimental at all. Like he's starting to get a little more sentimental
right.
ever since my grandma died like 7 or 8 years ago, but
Yeah.
I'm still just like pushing it off. I know I really want to sit down and interview him about these like really cool things he's done. And I know he's going to give me pushback, but like
Yeah.
I don't want to wait until it's too late. So
Yeah.
yeah, just definitely. And I'm saying this for myself, so I keep myself
Yes.
accountable.
Yes.
Like be very intentional about like making the time for that. Don't think you have even like next week because I mean, as I've seen in home health, a huge fall can just like happen out of nowhere.
Right.
Falls a lot of time can be like very detrimental or
Yeah.
stroke or like anything like that.
Right. Things change
Yeah,
so
like
fast.
yeah, the time is now. But also like make sure you have the bandwidth to like sit down. And
Yes.
you can even be like a 5-minute conversation. You can do it throughout a few days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you're like gonna be so happy you have that. Like it is literally something you will not regret.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love that. So, just one kind of final question for you. For any caregiver, they're maybe they're a professional, maybe they're a family caregiver that just kind of feels overwhelmed and overworked. What's kind of one piece of advice that you would give them?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think of the one piece. So this chair
Or it
is
can be
really
two things if you
okay.
two things. It doesn't have to be
Probably the 5 things I mentioned
monosyllabic.
earlier. Yeah. And this is probably, I'm assuming, advice a lot of people give, and it's hard, it's easier said than done, but give yourself grace. Like,
Mhm.
you are the only person in this position. Like, yeah, you might have, like, a brother or sister also helping you, but you're the only one in this unique position. Nobody else knows or knows what it feels like to be in this position to help, and you are your hardest critic too.
Mhm.
And just know, like, even if, like, you, like, snapped that day or whatever, you are doing the best you can. You are a good person. And, like, we're human too. Just think what you would say to somebody else in a similar situation, and you have to tell it to yourself. And you
Mhm.
can even make that an affirmation every day that you tell yourself. Like, I am a good caregiver. I am doing the best I can with what I am given, even if the best I can doesn't feel like the best I can, because you only have so much energy. We're not robots. We're human. So, and I mean, that goes for anybody in, like, almost every aspect of life. We're human. Just give yourself grace.
Mhm.
It takes a special person to be a caregiver. And even if you feel like you aren't supposed to be a caregiver, the fact that you're giving care means
Yeah.
that you're doing what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Know that you're exactly where you are and
Yeah.
what you're doing is helping. And I'm sure they probably don't hear thank you enough, but
Oh yeah. They don't, like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
it's
Caregivers are,
trenches sometimes, but
yeah. It's definitely
the
hard,
impact.
and then find, like, if there's a support group too, there's a lot of online ones which are nice, but, yeah, even if you can't find one online, you wanna find one in person, there's a lot of, like, local Facebook groups that aren't necessarily for caregiving, but if you, like, put in the chat somewhere on those, like, local groups, like, for me, like, I live in Bozeman, so if you were to go into the Bozeman one, just be like, "Does anybody know of any in-person caregiver support groups?" Most of the time, there is gonna be something.
Yeah,
So, if you
of
can't find
course.
one, 'cause a lot of times they're not very good at advertising that either.
Just
So
kinda
yeah, you just have to, like, find the person that knows the person that knows the person, and then you have a whole group of, like, wonderful people to,
yes.
just kinda rant to. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's definitely not something you should ever handle alone in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. So, and there's lots
No.
of people, there's lots of resources that are
Mhm.
ready to step in and help. So,
Yeah.
no, I
Mhm. And
really
that's what's
appreciate that.
cool, yeah, about, like, social media, like, every day I find new people, what
Mhm.
that they're, like, sharing their story, or yeah, well, just whatever. It's really cool, and, like, that's, like, the good of social media. So many people
Yeah.
talk about, like, the bad stuff, and I was, like, rotting our brains or whatever, but there, if you focus on the good, you literally see all the good. And if
Yeah.
those are the only accounts you follow, that's literally all you see on social media.
Right.
Like, that's,
Right.
like,
Right.
almost all I
Well,
see now
I
are, like,
stumbled
these really good
across
things.
this account the other day that seemed really it was bizarre, the kind of they were clearly targeting caregivers.
Mm,
All of their posts were like, "Is this how you feel? Everything is depressing and overwhelming, and I'm stressed that they're gonna die," and like all these terrible negative thoughts. And people were commenting on it and saying, "This is how I feel.
mm.
Yes, this is so sad." And it almost made me want to like comment on their post and be like, "Please, like, I
You
understand,
should.
validating these feelings, but there's no need to drag it down because at the end of the day, like, caregiving is also an honor, and it is
Mhm.
stressful and it is hard, but like we've been discussing, there's an opportunity to change lives. I have felt the benefit and the blessing of being able to get the wisdom, like you were talking about. Our culture could value the wisdom we get from the elderly a lot more. So I think it's important to talk about it in a positive light and
Totally.
to see the good through all of it so you're not stuck in the trenches of seeing all the
Yeah.
bad and the negatives.
Definitely. And then also you can look at it, like, when you were at that place, when you're older, like, and I've worked with people in hospice too, like, when you are
Right.
on your deathbed, you're gonna look back and just, you're gonna be so happy you did that. Like, that
Yeah.
is something you will not regret.
Yeah.
You will never regret caring for somebody, ever.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, that is everything that I was going to ask you about today. So I really appreciate you coming and talking and sharing your story because I learned a lot from everything you were sharing. And I think you had a lot of really good practical advice. So if anybody has any other way they want to work with you, what would kind of be the best way to get in touch or keep up with everything that you're doing and posting
Yeah.
about?
Well, first of all, like, thank you for starting this podcast. It's so sweet. And it's encouraging me to get back on track with my podcast, which I'm
Yes.
actually doing today. So thank you.
Yes. No, I
I'm
love
doing
that.
another interview with somebody. But yeah, if I help in a few different ways. One, I have a free resource that is a little download, and I can give you the link for that.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll include
Um,
that with the notes for anyone to
yeah.
download that.
And right now it's just literally like a free fall home safety checklist.
Mm,
Because like
that's great.
falls, there's like, I think there's really crazy fall statistics out there, and like
Mm,
30% of people who fall and break a hip will die within a year
mm,
of doing that, which is
that's
crazy and
crazy.
sad.
Yeah,
And then it obviously takes more time from the people around them because they're going to need a lot more help.
right.
Anyway, so like fall
Yeah.
prevention is a huge thing I work on,
No, I love
just because I did see the other side of it already like happening,
right.
or somebody had already got really hurt from it. But anyways, it's like a checklist you can do in like 20 minutes. You go through your loved one's house, or if it's your house,
That's great.
and you just see like what's a fall risk. It goes room by room, so it's really nice
Mm,
to look at. So that's a free thing. Another like free thing I do is the podcast. So if anybody has a loved one that they think would love to share their story, I try to do them in person as much as I can. So I'm based in Montana, but I do go down to like Salt Lake City, Utah a lot. So if anybody's over there, like we can definitely do an in-person one. I have family back east. So anyways, I try to do them in person as much as I can. Otherwise, I'll do them I've been using Zoom, but it's just like a fun resource. A lot of people have stories they definitely want to share, and they're like talkers. And if you want just like a fun, like easy keepsake, and or you have a loved one that like has some incredible wisdom or just funny stories that you think the world would love to hear, reach out to me. And I would love to have them on the podcast.
yeah.
That's definitely like a passion project for me and has been my favorite part of what I do. So that podcast is Stories for Supper. But you can reach out to me through my email, Sara, Sara, at sarashum.com. And yeah, I guess that'll probably be in the show
Yeah.
notes, maybe.
Yeah. I'll link that as well.
Yeah, or on my Instagram is at drsarah.shum. Sarah has no H in it. A lot of people think it does because my last name has the second letter has an H after an S. So it's like super confusing.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, that's a good way to contact me. And then on my Instagram, I've slowed down a little bit on it, but I do at least share tips to help keep loved ones safe, strong, and connected at their home so that they can age in place. And then tips to also like questions to ask loved ones just to make sure that their memories live on forever through like
Yeah.
video and audio. So yeah,
I
those are the
love
big things. And if anybody wants to reach out to me about like my personalized one-on-one coaching, um, yeah, that's also really fun. Again, it's like it is a little bit of a premium, which I do hope to scale, but some people do have those resources. Their parents do have those resources,
yes.
and they do like reach out to me about that, and we can help fall proof their home, help them get stronger, find a movement practice that they actually like, and then we can like literally chat about whatever they want to chat about. I
Yeah.
like to have fun
Yeah.
just
No,
talking. So
I think that's
yeah,
great. And I love all the different ways that you're helping people and services that you offer because I think I've seen a need for all of those things. So
yeah. And
people
all
should,
my services are virtual. Sorry, I don't know if I said that or not, but that's also I try to keep it accessible in the
right,
home. So
right,
yeah,
and help
yeah,
lots of different people. No, I love that. Well, thank you again for coming on to share about all of this because I
yeah,
think that there's a lot of really good emotional advice, physical advice. We cover a lot of different topics today, so I think that'll be really helpful for a lot of people.
yeah. Thank you. It, seriously, like this podcast is gonna be a lifeline for so many people, and I am excited to share it with whoever I can too.
Yes.
So
Well,
it'll be
thank you.
fun.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah,
Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this conversation today. I hope this episode gave you a few helpful insights, but more than anything, I hope it reminded you that caregiving is about more than just the tasks we do. It's about the presence, connection, and the small moments we share with the people we love. And if you're a caregiver feeling overwhelmed right now, just remember, you're doing the best you can, and that truly matters. If this episode resonated with you, consider sharing it with another caregiver or someone supporting an aging loved one. And you can find Sarah's resources and ways to connect with her in the show notes. Thank you again for being a part of the Care Collective. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other.